Today, in cold, wet March weather, Gatcombe is the scene of a unique equestrian happening. It's the day when the jockeys forsake the National Hunt Birch for a whole variety of horse trials fences, and Captain Mark Phillips is giving nothing away in the big course. And St. Desert Orchid and Simon Sherwood in action in this year's Gold Cup. A unique partnership, and what a moment for him. But now a different role for Simon as he rides Robert Lemieux's After Dark. Steve Smith-Eccles, last of the Cavalier jockeys, seen here winning his third consecutive champion hurdle on See You Then. And he rides Rachel Hunt's Piglet on the course. Brendan Powell on Rhyme and Reason, coming into the unsanding enclosure after last year's Grand National. And he's on one of the fastest across country today, Rodney Powell's Pomeroy. The highest placed of the freelance jockeys is Graham McCourt, winning on Wayward Lad. Your commentator is Michael Tucker.
2, 1, go!
And so away goes Richard Dunwood. An enormous crowd here, come at very short notice this afternoon. People from the racing world, people from the eventing world, and they're all here. Tremendous atmosphere as Richard Dunwoody and Cartier set off 2 miles ahead of them. One's got to realise that this is the Open Championship course, one of the biggest cross-country courses there is in the world, and what a challenge these boys have got. Well, all Richard's mates are down at fence 3. This is the one that worries them. When all the encouragement works, Richard sits up, Cartier does the job, and listen to the crowd. This is a big one, and Cartier stands right back. Well, that would have eased the nerves a little bit from the rest of the boys. Cartier already looking very relaxed. Richard, who was very nervous at the start. His wife, Carol, also extremely nervous. She normally has no problems racing, but today Carol was very, very nervous. Well, now Simon Sherwood. After Dark, not a very experienced horse, has been a show jumper. There's Steve Smith-Eccles. Oh!
You're going to bulletin from Mum for that.
And Steve Smith-Eccles tells Simon Sherwood that he's going to be in trouble. Now, let's have a little more action this time, Simon. And he's away over this time. And there's brother Oliver Sherwood, Oliver the trainer, who retains Simon. And he's going to find a long way if he's going to follow him all the way. Right out in the country now is Richard Dunwoody and the enormous Cartier coming to the corner now. Is he going to see that cross? Beautiful line, little close to the flag, but jumps it easily.
You want me in there now?
Now the heck, looking just a little more nervous than usual. Steve Smith-Eccles, the real cavalier of the jockey world.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Piglet takes quite a strong hold. Steve will want to just let him do the business. And that might be quite difficult because Steve is always enthusiastic, loves to really get stuck in, and he's really got to sit tight.
We're on the way, we're on the way.
God, you're going to go quick, isn't it?
And Piglet is really in top gear. Now coming to fence 3. Sits back and listen to the crowd, and they're loving it. And Steve, that'll give him some encouragement. Back with Cartier, up in the Park Bowl, in front of this marvellous house which forms the backdrop to the corral. Cartier looking so relaxed, jumping really well for Richard Dunwoody.
Now going on.
A horse that was in the Olympic squad with Mark Phillips last year, but sadly, of course, injury halfway through the day took him out. Back with Piglet at the sheep. Creep up, stood back, and up went the rear end, and there's Rachel Hunt looking very anxious. Is he all right? And there, horse and jockey quite all right, getting a leg back up. He goes for a longie. Up goes the back end, just a little too high, and the front legs buckle and out they go. Well, that's got to be a little nerve-wracking. Normally, of course, these boys don't like the fixed fences. Back with Simon Sherwood's, and after dark, over fence 10. Gatcombe known for its tremendous undulations, and any of the race courses that have undulations wouldn't have them such as this. But now fence 11, the corner. Accuracy. Up. Well, back we go again. Let's see if he can find that cross this time. And in fact, he's going to take the easier route, playing safe, and who can blame him? And this time really sits down and drives and gets it right. Cartier coming down to the water. Big crowd down here. Very enthusiastic. Stands off it. Richard sits back and lets him pop out. Lovely piece of horsemanship from Richard Dunwoody. So well balanced, letting the horse do the work. This is a real study in cross-country riding. Now the coffin. First time we've seen it. Again, nothing like this in the racing world, and he makes it look so easy.
Well done, Richard.
Well, now on the skyline, Steve Smith-Eccles coming to the steps. Still pulling quite hard, Piglet.
So 25 fences.
Down, oh, and nearly right down. Just slips on landing, and these boys know all about survival, all about stickability. They come across it every day of their racing lives, and you really didn't see the heck move very much. Well, here's the first on his way home. In sight, just one fence left, and Richard Dunwoody has given the enormous crowd a tremendous ride, a great thrill, and this challenge has really got off to a great start. Can't take a chance here, jumps it easily, and all those associated with Cartier will be delighted to see him come home, because Captain Phillips and Cartier hope to be reunited for the famous badminton challenge later in May.
Well, I must say, the ones we could see look extremely relaxed about the whole thing.
Simon Sherwood. Over the drop fence and down to the water. Again, you can see him sat absolutely beautifully. A lovely study in cross-country rider position. Now he'll be hoping to stay dry. Whoop. Sit tight, Simon, and he does.
Luckily, I had a very good ride, and one or two times I got into trouble, I just left it to him, and he was super, really good.
Cartier looked to be full of running the whole way around, but you were very sensible.
I've just kept him within himself, and really we've gone quite steady around there, and I just looked after myself and himself.
Well, we saw you go across the corner at 11. Was that exactly where Mark had put...
Brendan Powell on Rodney Powell's great old campaigner, Pomeroy. And indeed, there's Rodney Powell in the background, probably more nervous on the ground than he would be on top. And he set off at a great lick. He always was a very, very fast horse across country. And of course, Brendan Powell, one of the great up-and-coming jockeys. Tremendous ride in the National last year. But this is a very, very different matter ahead. These jockeys would have dropped their leathers. That's the stirrups. Somewhere around 6-7 holes. Gives them a very different balance, but they really have reacted very well. The third. Well, the jockeys actually have moved back to the start to watch on the monitors. But there's still a large crowd, very enthusiastic down there. Simon Sherwood's at the last on After Dark, celebrating his birthday today. He was to have spent it with David Ellsworth, celebrating, of course, the great win at Cheltenham in the Gold Cup on Desi, but he's chosen to come here, and I wonder what he feels after that ride round. Still looks a little apprehensive. Well, back on course, Brendan Powell and Pomeroy. Pomeroy, who retired from eventing back in 1986 and has been out in the hunting field enjoying himself all this winter.
He gave me a super ride.
Yeah.
It was my fault. We had
The water, one that he didn't fancy too much when he walked round with Robert Lemire. Robert Lemire, who won here at Gatcombe in the British Open Championships last year. Whoops, sits tight, he's lost a pedal.
He's not the flag down, but Steve won't
But he
worry about that.
sits tight and is dry. And he's loving it. He's talking to the crowd as he goes round.
Simon and Richard gone down the right-hand side, and I would think probably that's the
Riding as a
instruction
freelance
for
jockey
Steve
these
too.
days.
Yes, down the right-hand side.
One of the very few to do that from Newmarket. But he's gone through the coffin very well.
Well done, Steve. Great performance.
Well, maybe he'll be at badminton soon. Pomeroy and Brendan Powell. I think anyone who's watching this could be excused to be thinking they were watching Gatcombe for the British Open. These boys have really adjusted so well. Tremendous courage to take this on. Now, the corner. He's got the line, and he's got the answer.
We missed Peter Scudamore this morning. He arrived very late on the show.
Who claims Steve Smith-Eccles as he comes towards home on Piglet. Looks to have really settled down and looks very much at home. And one thing's for sure, Rachel Hunt, who's been biting her nails all morning, will be very relieved when she sees Piggy home and dry. And he is. Piglet, another great event horse who's retired, and he will have really enjoyed himself this afternoon. He's been hunting all winter, and he really has given Steve Smith-Eccles a truly lovely ride.
Well, despite the fall, he's got a great big grip on his face.
You all right, Steve? Yeah? That's not as easy as you think.
Well, Steve Smith-Eccles, you might have heard say there, that's not as easy as it seems. But certainly Brendan Powell is making it look very easy.
Yeah, and he created quite a crowd. I mean, I was quite surprised.
Quite a lot of rain, the going absolutely perfect. And I wonder where else in the world so many people would turn out literally at a moment's notice. This has only been announced over the last few days. But of course, it's all for the Injured Jockeys Fund and the new, very important Mark Davis Trust Appeal for Injured Riders. And it's brought them out in their thousands. That moment of suspension right out over the top. You really feel as you're flying there. I'm quite sure just for a moment Brendan Powell would wonder where he was going to come down. Whoa! Graham McCourt it is, taking a bit of an early chance at the seconds on the Spanish Olympic horse, Mr. Todd. Well, he won't want to do this at this wall into the dark. Whoop, he sits tight, just.
Steve, you said you must be mad before you started.
10 foot tall and 20 foot wide from these boys. Graham McCourt it is, riding the horse that's been produced by Mark Todd, the double Olympic champion. And of course Mark Todd will be one of the 6 eventers that goes to Aintree. And he comes to the corner. Whoa, he's got his angle wrong, and he paid the penalty. But luckily, horse and rider none the worse. And it looks as if our fence judge down there is a pretty fit man, but not fit enough. But there isn't much wrong with Mr. Todd. And there is Mr. Todd, right on cue, just arriving Ian Stark's Mix and Match, coming to the third, the one he feared. And look at that, puts the brakes on, gets control, and he's all right. And so too Is Mr. Todd and Graham McCord all right? As Brendan Powell it is with Pomeroy comes on the last 5 fences on the course. Down to the water. Whoa, he leaves a leg, and look how quickly Brendan reacts. Sits back. Beautiful piece of riding. And let's hope this vast crowd really do appreciate how well these boys are going. Well, Peter Scudamore chasing that magical 200 mark. The first man ever to achieve it in the jumping world, if he can do it. But what can he do this afternoon? Very cautiously, very carefully, beautifully positioned. Well, Pomeroy may have been retired now 3 years from the eventing scene, but I bet he's enjoyed this afternoon. These horses love the atmosphere, they hear the PA, they see the flags, and he will have enjoyed that quite as much as Brendan Powell. And he is the fastest of them so far. Tremendous performance by these two.
Tremendous performance. Thank you very much.
Well, now it's the corner, fence 11.
That was one great ride, Brendan.
Yeah, I mean, everything.
Caught not too far from home. And he makes that look as easy as any of them. There's Mark Todd enjoying it.
Now, everyone's gone down the right-hand side.
The horse, in fact, ridden by one of the Spanish riders, Santa de la Roche, in Seoul last year. Did very well out there. And doing well again.
And let's not forget that this is a British Open Championship advanced cross-country these boys are going across this afternoon.
Well, Peter Scudamore looks so relaxed. He is, of course, a true professional.
Some idea of the tremendous performance these boys are putting up.
And there's the encouragement from Ian Stark. Go faster, he says, as Graham comes to the last. Graham McCourt on Mr. Todd. The birch comes out, but they land quite safely. And there'll be one very relieved man. He had a little fall in practice this morning. That worried him a bit, but now I think he will be happy.
Well, one flies in with not too much time to spare.
So the last man out on the course, Peter Scudamore. On a young horse that won the Windsor 3-day event last year. Not that experienced, as you heard Ian Stark say earlier. But Peter Scudamore makes it look very easy.
Graham, I know I saw you at 10 o'clock.
Real family day out, and Peter Scudamore has got his family here. And there is Ian Stark running down, telling him to go faster. I don't think he's going to be quite as quick as Brendan Powell and Pomeroy, but it's been a really stylish round. And one which I think all the crowd will fully appreciate. Well, the horse and jockey look...
Gurdon, 2 Polly Lyons, 3 Rodney Powell, 4 Robert Lemure, 5 Ian Stark, and number 6 Mark Todd. The going is very wet. Madeline Gurdon on the edge of international honours, riding her own eventer, the Done Thing. A very popular combination this. They've been round them. Will emulate Brendan Powell, winner of the National last year.
I should think after what we did a fortnight ago, I mean, we were very apprehensive after walking around the track, and I mean, even when I walk around here...
And that's it, they're away.
Fairly steady pace as they break, but when the horses see the first fence, they start to quicken on their own. It's an obstacle that's claimed some pretty famous names in the past.
And Deep Gale is down, Rambling Jack is down, and Man Alive is down, and Old and Needy is down, Old and Needy is down.
No such upsets for our intrepid bunch of eventers. Safely over the first, they head on to the second, which is a fairly nice fence to jump, and already in the red colours, Robert Lemure setting a fast pace. Polly Lyons is keeping tabs on him, although there's some way between them. The following quartet are just dropping back a little bit. They probably know the third is a big open ditch. They wanted to see how the leaders jumped it. As it turned out, they all jumped it well. That's the first of the bogey fences behind them. They can now settle down on the run to Beecher's, coming towards the fifth, which is fairly easy and doesn't cause problems in the National itself. Robert Lemure in the red colours. easily lobbing along in front, and Polly Lyons tending to keep well apart from him. They don't want to gee each other up, but they can see that Beechers is ahead of them. A clear third now is Mark Todd on Mr. Todd, and it's noticeable that all the riders are spreading out to give themselves a good view of this drop fence.
Well, it's big. First impression is very big, yeah. Never realised the fence was on such an angle to the course. And it's just a fair old drop, and I don't know, I'll have my fingers crossed coming into it, I think.
On your toes.
Steve, what advice would you give coming to this?
Well, speaking from past experience, when I ride around the National, I don't carry a stick, I carry a fishing rod, because I've been fishing in this brook 5 times out of 9.
Well, I don't want his advice.
Beechers looks nice from the takeoff, and for Robert Lemieux and Polly Lyons, they jump it stride for stride. Mark Todd in third clears it well, his fears unfounded. The Dun Thing is fourth, and Pomeroy fifth. Mix and Match just puts a foot on the top of Beechers. Now comes one of the traps of Aintree. It's the tiniest fence following the biggest drop. Ian Stark and Rodney Powell just having a few words as they go to this. I wonder what they said. But no fears here. It is small, but it can catch horses out. The canal turn is set at 90 degrees. From our helicopter, we can see the two leaders cutting across as the pros do it, and jumping it well. It's obvious that the gap between the two leaders and Mark Todd in third is lengthening. Also at this stage, the others are weakening, and it's a crashing fall for Rodney Powell and Pomeroy. They head on to Valentine's Brook. This is the sister to Beechers Brook, but not quite as big. And here, Polly Lyons is just shading Robert Lemieux for the lead. They can see the grandstands in their sights, although it's over half a mile away. Buck Spinner is in the lead, and watch as he pricks his ears. Coming to the next, Polly Lyons sees a good stride and gets an answer from Buck Spinner. Back in third, Mark Todd and Mr. Todd appear to be weakening. He has a nervous glance over his left shoulder. Up front, Robert Lemieux and Polly Lyons again, stride for stride. Robert takes a pull, and quite wisely. They both just clamber over that. From the rear, it appears that Mix and Match is starting to make a little bit of ground as Mr. Todd again hits that fence. Now we're coming to a ditch on the landing side. Robert Lemieux evidently going a length in front. Buck Spinner gets too close and pays the penalty. Lemieux reins back the Anchor Bridge Road, but not half the problems they had when walking the course before the event. Mark Todd finds the way through. It's mixed feelings for Robert Lemieux up front. He's on his own and patently going to win if he can negotiate the last 4 fences, but he may just be wishing he'd got a little bit of company. Not far behind is Mark Todd, and still making relentless progress on his coloured horse Mix and Match is Ian Stark, and the Dun Thing is right on their tails. Just coming into the picture in 5th place in the white helmet is my good self riding another half, ready for on-the-spot interviews, if only I could get near enough. Robert Lemieux has 3 fences in front of him. Victory is in his sights, but he's wondering what to do. Do I steady? Do I save a bit? Coming to the 3rd last, which in fact would be the last fence in the Grand National itself, Robert has still got plenty in hand. Behind him, Mark Todd and Mr. Todd are not making any further progress, but the coloured horse is. It's going to be a duel for 2nd place. Coming to the chair, Robert Lemieux, wary of what's happened in previous years, takes a pull.
And coming to the chair now, this is one of the biggest, and Crisp, his ears pricked, jumps it beautifully in the lead. He just pecked a little bit but got away with it. Grey Sombrero was very near, he's gone. Grey Sombrero was gone at that one. Grey Sombrero faller, Glenn Kiln's a faller, Proud Percy's a faller with that one also. And as they jump,
a precision jump from Stanton Manor Boy, and well clear of Mr. Todd, with Mix and Match closing all the time in 3rd. Crisp had laughed at this fence for me in 1973, but I chickened out this time. Madeline Gurdon and the Dun Thing were hardly going fast enough to jump it, but experience got them over. Up front, Robert Lemieux has just got the water jump to finish. Ironically, it's his worst jump, but then eventers are used to going in the water. His salute shows you just how pleased he is to finish.